Welcome to the Collide Kids podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey y'all, welcome to the Collide Kids podcast. I'm your host, Christen Clark. The Collide Kids podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. I am so glad you're listening today. I feel like today's topic is very important. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been faced with a bully before? Or maybe you've seen someone get upset or start an argument? I remember there was this one time, I think I was in second grade, and I was on the playground at recess. So fun, right? Well, a boy from another class said something or did something rude to my friend. I don't remember what he did, but I do remember that all of a sudden I pushed him and I told him to leave my friend alone. And then he walked away and he probably told the teacher that I pushed him. Crazy, right? It escalated so quickly because I wanted to do something for my friend. I've been in that situation a few other times and I don't always know what to do. So I don't know if that's something you've ever thought about before, but I thought today it would be a good time for us to talk about standing up for our friends. And I couldn't think of anyone better to have this conversation with than my friend Nysi Kilgore. Nysi is a sought-after speaker, author, and a family life educator. She's known internationally for her pure heart, her love for God, and her genuine compassion for people. She's also the co-creator of an awesome new project called Peace Box that she's going to tell you more about today. Nysi lives in Atlanta, Georgia with her family and her puppy Miles, who, by the way, kept trying to be a part of the recording earlier. So I hope you really enjoy this conversation with my friend Nysi Kilgore. Well, hi, Nysi. I am so glad to have you on the show today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Would you just introduce yourself to everyone? Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, my name is Nysi Kilgore. I am 22 years old. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, but right now I'm living in Birmingham. Birmingham, Alabama. So that's been kind of fun. I just graduated with my master's degree in marriage and family studies back in May. So currently right now, I am a certified family life educator. So that means I can do counseling. That means that I can do curriculum development. That means I can work at the Boys and Girls Club. That means I can do just a whole lot of things.
A whole lot of stuff. That's awesome.
But everything I do, I work with families and with kids because that's what I love. So right now I am what they call a curriculum developer. I'm an advocate for families and children, and I help families learn and educate themselves on racism and Black history. I help educate families. That's what I do.
That's awesome. That's so needed. That's such Yeah. So we like to start out by doing something a little bit fun. So before we start a conversation, I'd love to hear do you have like a really good joke you want to share or something?
Yes. Okay. It's a good joke, but it's probably not going to be that funny. But I mean, we'll try. Okay. So, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Leon.
Leon who?
Lean me when you're not strong.
Oh, lean on me.
Yeah, you get it.
When you're not strong. Oh, that's good. I like that.
It was,
Perfect. I love it.
I'm the queen of dad jokes.
I love it. I think every guest that I've had that's done a joke has said this is such a dad joke. So I like
because dad jokes are the best and worst jokes.
They are. They're the best and worst. That is a great way of putting it.
They are the best and worst.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the dads. Sorry. We love you.
Sorry, Dad. Yeah, they're great jokes. They make us laugh, but we're like, you have to roll your eyes a little bit,
Like, yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you're here today, and I think the topic that we're going to talk about today is really important, especially in the culture and the way things are going right now, and things that are happening in the world. Um, and something that you and I have talked about before in different venues is, just how to stand up for our friends. We talk about being a friend. A few episodes ago, we talked about like how to make friends, how to be a good friend. And one of those things I think that a lot of kids deal with in different ways is there's bullies in their life, or there are people that say things or do things, and they might be well-intentioned, like they might be trying to do something good, but in the end, it's actually not helpful or good. And then the other part of it is there's people that do things that are just mean.
Yeah.
They're not thinking of other people. They're thinking only of themselves, or they're trying to make themselves look better. So a lot of times I think we get stuck in situations where we see something where someone's hurt someone else. So talk about that a little bit. Like what does that mean to stand up for your friend?
Well, I think we see the best version of standing up for our friends through Jesus. And when Jesus was walking and talking on earth, like with people, and we see in the Bible, Jesus did a lot of standing up for people.
Yeah.
And what they learn from Jesus about standing up for our friends is what just probably why a lot of us have a hard time is it's not easy. Usually when we stand up for our friends, or we stand up for someone who's being bullied or treated wrong, there are going to be people who say, hey, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't say that. Or if you stand up for them, we're going to talk about you too. And it makes it really, really hard. But I think that's why in the Bible, God tells us that there's 2 commands: to love the Lord your God, and then to love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yeah.
And I think God calls us in that. Jesus calls us to be really good friends and to stick up for our friends. Because how would I want myself to be loved? Well, myself, when someone is bullying me, would want someone to say something.
Right.
Myself, when someone is hurting me, would want someone to say, hey, stop, don't do that. You know? So I would do for myself what I want other people to do for me. And so part of standing up and part of learning how to stand up for our friends is not letting fear stop us, not letting the scary feelings stop us. Number 2 is figuring out, okay, when should I step up and when should I not? Because sometimes we might feel like, I don't know what I should do. And I think that's where Holy Spirit comes in. And usually when we're in a situation where we should do something, we get this little feeling in our tummy. And it might feel like butterflies, or you're like, ooh, my stomach hurts a little bit, or, oh, I don't feel too good. And sometimes that's the Holy Spirit saying, hey, he's like pushing you, like, hey, you should do something. You should say something. This is your chance. This is your moment. And so listening to the Holy Spirit, or that still small voice in our heart that says, you know what, I think I should say something right now. And following that. Being a good friend is also being obedient to Jesus when he tells us to be a good friend.
Yeah.
And to stand up for people. Number 2. And then number 3 is realizing sometimes you might feel like, you know what, it won't matter if I say anything, or it doesn't matter if I do or don't, but it does matter, because your voice matters. And we do have power in our voice and in our words. Your voice is powerful. And when you stand up and you speak up for someone, you're using that voice that God gave you, that's shaped in his image and has that same power to speak up and stand up for someone. That's why you can't stay silent. You can't be quiet.
And you don't have to be a loud voice. You could be a quiet voice. You could be, you don't have to match. If someone's screaming at someone else and you see that, you don't have to equally scream back, but you could step in and say, this is wrong, or this is not right, or I see something that, so it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to always be loud and angry.
Yeah, because the Bible even says in Proverbs, I believe, that a quiet voice turns away wrath. What does that mean? That peace brings down anger. So if someone is angry and you see someone being bullied, you might feel really upset on the inside. And the Bible even talks about that. It talks about righteous anger. And that's an anger that, God acknowledges. And that's okay to feel that anger. But also we have to take a beat. I call it a beat, where I take a 1, 2, 3. And I think about, hold on, how am I going to respond to this before I just run straight into it?
Right.
Take a beat and say, okay, Jesus, what's the best way to go about this? What's the best way to speak up about this? Sometimes standing up for a friend is not you jumping in, because that might not be the best solution. Sometimes standing up for a friend is, you know what, I'm going to go run and find an adult.
Yeah.
I'm going to go run and find someone who can help. Because sometimes maybe you jumping in isn't the best thing, because maybe you can actually help, but you can go find someone who can help.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is in the moment where you need to stand up in a calm, in a still voice and say, hey, you know what? No, that's not okay. But sometimes it's, hey, hold on, I'm going to go get someone to help.
Yeah. Can you think about a time in your life where someone stood up for you?
When I was in the 3rd grade, was the first time I ever experienced any type of racism ever in my life. I was 9 years old. And I won't go into the nitty-gritty details of what happened, but in that moment, none of my friends stood up for me. None of them. And I remember thinking, hey, like, no one's going to say anything? That's so weird. And so I went to my teacher, and my teacher was actually the person who stood up for me.
Wow.
And she defended me, and she told the person they were wrong, and she made them apologize. And then she came back to me, and she told me all the things that God said was true about me. That
Wow.
God loved me, and that God made me, and that my skin was beautiful, and that God had made me in that skin for a purpose and for a reason, and that God did not make a mistake with me. So not only did she defend me, but she also validated me. And that's also part of being a good friend. When someone's bullying or or tearing someone down, yes, we should stand up for them, but then also we should turn around and we should remind them of what God says about them. Because maybe in that moment, because that person has done that to them, they might have forgotten. And they might feel bad about themselves.
Right.
So yes, you tell the bully to stop, but then you turn around and tell them, hey, do you know that you're fearfully and wonderfully made?
Right.
Do you know that you're a great friend? Do you know that I love you? So yeah, that's the second part of standing up. You stand up to them, and then you also stand up against any lie that the enemy might be trying to place in their head by using that voice. Remember, your voice is so important. You need it to stand up, but then you also need it to affirm your friend, because that's part of sticking up for your friend.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people experience this when we see something going wrong, or we see somebody doing something that's not right, or they're bullying someone, even if they're not our close friend. You see someone bullying someone, and you don't say anything. Like all the people in your class that didn't stand up for you, they were supposed to be your friend, and they were silent. How can we help other people understand that silence is not helpful?
Yeah. Well, one of the ways that we let people know that silence is not helpful is that we tell them that silence is not helpful. I think sometimes people, when they're being silent, it's not because they don't care. It's because, like I talked about a while back, they're afraid. They don't know what to say, or maybe I'll say the wrong thing and make it worse, or maybe I'll say something that'll make you upset, or maybe I don't know what'll happen if I say something.
Right.
And so I think it's important that we be able to have conversations with our friends where they can tell us, you know what, when you didn't say something, that really hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
And putting ourselves in their shoes, how would I feel if I was in that situation and no one said anything for me and no one stood up for me? Did I really love my neighbor as I would want to be loved? Is that the type of love that I want my friends to show me? Probably not.
Right.
And so the best solution in this situation, you realized, I made a mistake and I probably should have said something and I didn't, is to go back and have a conversation again and say, you know what? Hey friend, I'm so sorry that I didn't say anything in that moment. I'm so sorry that I didn't love you like I would want to be loved, and I didn't defend you in that moment. And I promise that I won't do that again. Can you tell me? Next time, if something's happening, can you come get me? Because I'll stand up for you. Or next time I see something happening, I'll come and I'll be there for you. People don't usually know you're hurting unless you tell them you're hurting. So if someone in your life has been silent and that silence really hurt you, they may not know. You can't just assume that they do. And so you have to be able to be willing to say, you know what? This is really hard for me to say. But when that situation happened at school, or when Jenny was bullying me at school and you were standing there and you didn't say anything, that really hurt my feelings. We can't just assume that, you know what? She saw Jenny bullying me and she just didn't care, and I'm just going to be angry with her. Well, maybe that wasn't the case.
Right.
Maybe she saw Jenny bullying you and she didn't know what to do. Or maybe you saw her there and you thought she saw Jenny bullying you, but she really didn't see Jenny bullying you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we have to be willing to be like, you know what? Have those conversations and then give them the space, because maybe she did see Jenny bullying you. And
Yeah.
maybe she didn't know what to say. And that's where we extend grace to people. And we say, you know what? I get it. I understand. It did hurt me, but I understand. And I accept your apology. And we give grace, because that's what Jesus came and Jesus died, because he knew we'd make mistakes. He knew we wouldn't stand up for our friend when Jenny was bullying him. He knew we'd take that cookie out of the cookie jar. Mama said we shouldn't take the cookie out of the cookie jar. He knew we'd do a whole lot of things. And so that's why he came, and he died for our sins, to help forgive us for those sins.
That's true.
And so if Jesus forgave you for the things that you messed up with and the things you did wrong, then we can extend that same forgiveness to our friends when they hurt us and they do things wrong to us.
Yeah. How could we be a good friend when we realize that our friends are being the bullies? Like maybe our friend says something that they shouldn't have said, or they're being mean to someone, and we realize, like I'm not even friends with the person they're hurting, but I need to stand up for that other person. How can we help our friends who might be not acting the way they should?
Well, first, I think the best thing would be is to try to I'm a big fan of conversations, friends. Like, the best things happen when talking it out. I promise the best things happen when talking it out. So I would try to have a conversation first and ask them, hey, do you know that's wrong? I probably would say, hey, when you did that, that was wrong. That was not okay. And this is why that was not okay. That's the first step. And then if it happens again, the best thing to do is get an adult and tell them, hey, because the Bible says that if you have an ought against your brother, take it to your brother. And then the second part of that, so ought means if your brother does something that hurts your feelings, if your brother does something wrong, you should go to them and tell them, you did this wrong. Right. And then the Bible says that if they don't change that, you should go get someone else. It says in the Bible to get an elder. What is an elder? An adult. Or someone, a third party, someone else, someone that's a little bit older and has a little bit more wisdom, to come and say, hey, this is what happened. And I tried to tell them, and that did not change. And so the best thing we can do when our friends are bullies, our friends do things they did that they're not supposed to do, is to hold them accountable. Hold them accountable to truth, and hold them accountable to the behavior or the way that you know that they should act.
It's just like when I have like spinach in my teeth, or if I have toilet paper stuck to my shoe, my good friends are going to tell me, hey, you have something in your teeth, or you have toilet paper stuck on your foot. People that don't know me are probably not going to say anything to me, but people that know me well know that I don't want to be embarrassed, or I don't want to have stuff in my teeth all the time. So that's the same thing as holding someone accountable. You want to let them know, hey, this is something I see that's not right, or this is something that you really need to be aware of that you do, and you don't realize you're being mean, but that's actually pretty mean to do that. So we need those friends that'll tell us that.
Yeah, and you should do that in love. Like you don't tell them, you don't go and tell them you're such a horrible person because you did this, and this. No. We're not gonna go that way, but we are gonna be stern and strong and say, hey, I love you. And because I love you, I need to tell you that you're being pretty mean to this person, or you sound pretty mean when you say this. Because in Hebrews, the Bible tells us that God corrects those who he loves. Love is not always saying, oh, they're just my friend and that's just the way they are. No. Love is saying, hey, I love you enough to not allow you to continue to be this way. Because when God created you, this was not what he had in mind. This is not, God created you to be loving and patient and kind and all these things. And right now you're not being that. And because I love you, I'm going to hold you accountable to that and let you know that, hey, that's not okay.
We'll be right back after this. You know, raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app. That's good. Yeah, and we need to follow Jesus' example for sure as we're going through. We talked about a Bible verse earlier that and it kind of brought to mind the verse, I think it's from Proverbs. Will you share that verse about a friend?
Proverbs 18:24, and this is in the Message translation. It says, friends come and friends go, but a true friend sticks by you like family.
That's good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When I think about family, we joke and we fight and we get on each other's nerves all the time. One thing about me that I didn't say, I'm the oldest of 3. So I'm 22, my brother is 20, and then my younger sister is 18. And so I've been a big sister basically my whole life. And so one thing about us, we get on each other's last nerves, man. We fight and we wrestle and we argue and we nitpick. We go at it. But the moment my brother's in trouble, or the moment my sister's in trouble, or the moment that I'm in trouble, we show up for each other.
Yeah.
We're there for each other. Or the moment my brother does something that I know that's not Jamarcus and that's not his character and he shouldn't have done that. Or the moment Jaden does something that she shouldn't have done, or the moment that I do something I shouldn't have done, we send a text, or we have a phone call, or we have a FaceTime, or we go to each other's room and say, hey, when you said that to mama, that wasn't cool. Or, hey, I heard you on the phone with your friend and you were kind of mean. Family goes both ways. I defend you and I correct you, and both are standing up for you.
Yeah.
I refuse to let people treat you wrong, but I also refuse to let you treat other people wrong. Both are not okay. And I'm going to defend you in both ways because I'm my brother's keeper. The Bible also talks about that, being your brother's keeper. I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. What is a keeper? Someone that protects. Protection goes both ways. I'm going to protect you from the world, but sometimes I have to protect the world from you.
That's true.
You can't do that. You can't go out on the road.
Yeah, that's the way to be a good friend, is understanding that you want to be close to them, and like you said earlier too, love is not always nice. I think we always think that if I'm loving, that means I'm nice, and sometimes, like you said, we've got to say things that might hurt their feelings or embarrass them. Not that that's our intention, but we have to be loving and show them there are things in their life they need to change. So just like our family, we've got to stick close to our friends and stand up. I know if anybody did anything to my family, to my kids, if they said something about my brother or sister, same. I would be like, listen, don't talk about them that way. Like, you can't say that. Or excuse me. I do that a lot.
Excuse you.
Excuse me.
I tell people all the time, I can tell my brother that he has big feet, but you can't tell my brother that he has big feet, okay? That's off limits.
Right.
I can do it, but you can't. And I think, too, Christen, we have to maybe sometimes rethink our definition of nice. Because do you really love me and are you really nice to me if you just let me do whatever I want to do?
Right.
If our mommies, if mommies and daddies really loved us, would they really let us eat cookies all the time for every meal? Because they know cookies are going to make us sick. They know if we eat that all the time, it's going to make us sick. So love is saying, you know what? Instead of cookies tonight, we're going to have spaghetti and a salad. Because you know what? You need the greens.
You need some veggies.
You need some veggies. You need the nutrition. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nice doesn't always feel nice. And just because something doesn't feel nice doesn't mean that it's not nice.
Right.
When you do something you're not supposed to do and your mom and daddy gets on to you, that doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean that they're not nice. It means that that's the type of love that you needed in that moment. And so just because we have to learn, just because something doesn't feel nice all the time, doesn't mean that it is not nice. It might be a different form of love, a different form of nice that you need in that moment.
That's
true. It doesn't feel good, but it's good for you.
And I think too, it's important when we are confronted because we have said something or done something wrong. Maybe we were being a bully or we were being racist. Maybe we repeated something that we didn't understand what we were saying. And so when someone says to you, hey, don't say that, that's not right. Kind of like what you said, like we need to be willing to understand and recognize the person that's doing that is most likely doing that out of love. So we need to accept that and think about what we're doing.
It goes back to that take a beat. If someone comes to you and they say, hey, when you said that, that was racist, or hey, when you said that, that was prejudice, or hey, you shouldn't have said that, and here's why you shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
In your heart, your initial reaction might be to say, no, I didn't say anything wrong. Why? Because you've been called out, and when we're called out, usually a little thing called pride rises up, and it's, hey, no, don't let them say that to you. That's not me. And although that might not have been your intention, sometimes even if we don't intend, we hurt people. And it is not our job to say whether we hurt them or not, even if it wasn't our intention.
Right.
And so we have to take a beat, take that second and say, you know what? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what I could have said differently?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what I should have done differently? And I'll make sure that I do it different the next time.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, this has been really good. I hope a lot of people listen to this and learn something today about using their voice in a way to stand up for their friends. Okay, so speaking of standing up for your friends, you are a part of a really cool project called the Peace Box. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Peace Box?
Yeah, so the Peace Box creates change by educating and equipping families to act in the fight against racism. So each box focuses on what has happened, what is happening, and what we want to happen. And so it'll be what we call 24 first steps in the fight against racism. And so we don't want you to start and end with this and be like, okay, I'm done. But it's 24 first steps to get you going on your way. And so it'll be handcrafted lessons, books, swag items, activities, the whole 9 yards surrounding Black history, anti-racism education, action items for you and your family to actually act out and be a part of the change. And then also there will be an app that we're creating because we believe that we're better together. And this is a fight that can only happen together. And so since we're better together, we're cultivating a community through our Peace Box app where you can come in and you can be connected to families who are on the journey with you, ask questions, get to know answers. We'll be doing live Q&A with some of our friends, one of them being Lecrae, which I think is so cool.
I love Lecrae.
I love Lecrae too.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So Lecrae is going to be a part of this project. It's going to be cool. It's going to be great. And families can go to mypeacebox.com to subscribe.
That's awesome. That's such a neat resource that you have something specifically for families. You know, it's not just for kids. It's something that everyone in the family can benefit from. And you don't just have to be just the white people have to do it or just people of color. It's every family can be a part of this and learn together, like you said. So I love that. That's so good.
We can only do this together. I fully believe that. I think when the song says red and yellow, black and white, this is how it's going to happen. All of us coming together and moving the button forward. That's what we believe. That's the heart of the Peace Box is we're better together. We can only do this together.
That. Yeah, what a great resource. That's awesome. Well, to close out the show, I always like to ask my guests to tell me a memory from when they were a kid. So tell us from when you were a kid. Tell us something from when you were a kid.
Okay. A memory from when I was a kid. I'm just going to tell this memory, disclaimer, just kids, please, if you have a pet, do not do this at home, okay?
Oh, I can't wait.
Moms and dads, please hear me. I am not advocating for this in your home. Kids, please do not do this at home. So when I was little, there was a movie, and you could probably find it somewhere in a very deep abyss, but it was called Underdog. And in Underdog, it was a dog who was a superhero and he could fly. And so me, my brother and sister, we loved this movie. And in the course of our life, we had been notorious for acting out scenes of movies. Example, Lion King, you know, at the part where Scar is like, I kill Mufasa, and you know, he like lets Mufasa's hands go and he's like, no, and he's like flying down into the antelope. Well, me and my brother and sister, we tried that a time or two, you know, from the top of the steps. Oh, and one of us would pretend to be Scar and the other person would be Mufasa, and we let the person just fly down the steps.
Fly down the steps. Oh,
so after watching Underdog a couple hundred times, I'm pretty sure, well, I'm not pretty sure, I know. My brother got the wild idea that maybe our dog was underdog undercover and he could actually fly. Oh, no. And so he made a pile of clothes at the bottom of the bunk bed, and he climbed with his own cape on, climbed to the top of the bunk bed with our dog, and parents, you know where this is going. And he goes, fly, and he releases the dog from the top bunk, our 9-pound white Pekingese from the top bunk. And let's just say the dog did not make the pile of clothes.
Oh, no.
He completely missed the cushion. And I'm 100% positive that my dog's leg broke, but none of us told our mom in that moment. So it was legitimately 4 years ago. Guys, this happened when I was like 10.
Okay.
4 years ago, my brother, in a very solemn moment, sits my mom and dad down at the table and says, Mom, Dad, I have a thing I need to tell you. And about 10 years after it happened, my brother confessed to throwing our dog off of the bunk bed.
And probably hurting the poor dog's leg.
No, guys, my mama takes my dog to the vet, and the vet's like, I can't understand what's wrong. He just automatically just develops arthritis, and he's walking funny, and we just don't know what's happening. We just don't know what's wrong with the dog. My brother had experimented with the dog.
All right, kids, do not throw your dog off the top bunk.
Your dog is not underdog, okay? I can tell you right now,
dogs can't fly.
Underdog. Your lizard is not underdog. Your snake is not underdog. Your rabbit is not underdog. Your pet belongs on the ground.
On the ground.
In a cage.
Don't throw any pets. We do not condone that.
Also, your cat. Even though your cat can land on its feet, don't throw your cat either.
Yeah.
Please don't throw your cat.
So funny.
Have to throw that out there too.
That's awesome. And I love that he just recently confessed. Like it took a while, but at least
it took a long time. He was very remorseful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I probably should have been a better friend to my dog and told my mom and used my
stood up for your dog.
Stood up for my dog, but I did not.
Well, this has been so fun, Nysi. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing all of this. I think this is really good to have a conversation about using our voices to stand up for our friends. So this is important, and I appreciate you doing this with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Okay, I feel a little sad for the dog, but that was pretty funny. I love that conversation. I think that's so important with everything that's going on in the world today, that we learn to use our voice. Our voices have power. I love that she kept saying that it was so important to have conversations, not just to yell at someone or to stand up in a loud way, but we could use our voice to help other people by being encouraging or by going to talk to an adult or someone that can help. There's a lot of ways we can use our voices to stand up for our friends, and that's so important. And I love that she said that part of sticking up for a friend who is being bullied or mistreated is to say something to them that is encouraging and affirming, reminding that person that the hurtful thing that was said to them was not true, that they still had a friend, they still had someone that was going to be there for them. I think that's so important. Well, you know what time it is. Now it's time for the kids only segment. This is a part of the show where you get to be on the podcast. So I'm happy to introduce you to my friend Katie.
Hello, my name is Katie Freese, and my favorite Bible verse is Jeremiah 29:11. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future."
Nice job, Katie. That's a good verse. Thank you for sharing that. Hey, would you like to be on the podcast? I mean, you that's listening. I would love to hear from you. I'd love for you to send me your favorite Bible verse like Katie did, or if you have a great joke or a quote you really like to say, or maybe you have a question. Any of those things would be awesome. I am always needing kids to send in their stuff. It's not too late and it's easy to do. Just have a grown-up help you go to my podcast website. It's Anchor, anchor.fm/CollideKidsPod. And on that page, there's a place for you to leave me a message. If you need more information about this, you can find all this on my social media pages as well. I'm on Facebook at the Collide Kids Podcast, or I'm on Instagram at Collide Kids Pod. And did you know that friends tell friends about the Collide Kids podcast? Will you tell someone about this podcast? If you're enjoying this, I would love for you to share this with someone. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so that new episodes will automatically load each week into whatever podcast app you are using. And give us a rating and a review on your podcast app. That actually helps other people find out about the show so they can listen too. Well, I hope this conversation today has inspired you to use your voice, to speak up and to be there for your friends and be an encourager. Say something kind to someone, especially someone that's had a rough day or someone that's been in an argument. It's so good that we could use our voices to help others and to encourage others. In case no one has told you today, hey, let me be the first to remind you, God loves you so, so much. Thanks for listening.
You don't have to go very far looking for bad news because somehow it just finds you. So finding peace in the chaos can be really difficult, but it doesn't have to be because the River mobile app exists. The River is a Christian music radio station dedicated to playing music to help you get through life's toughest moments or life's happiest moments and everywhere in between, and all from artists who love Jesus and are real people just like you. Listening is easy. You can download it wherever you get apps from. Just search 1049 The River or listen online at riverradio.com. And know that The River is proud to partner with the Collide Kids podcast.